We are going to talk about the molecules that make up every living thing. I do not care if you are a bacterium, or if you are a blue whale, or if you are Billy Joe Armstrong, or if you are a mite living on the Queen of England's eyelashes. They are called biological molecules. They are essential sources of energy. They are the means for storing that energy. They are the ingredients for life, and we call them the carbohydrates, the lipids, the proteins, and the nucleic acids. And today we are just going to be talking about the first three. We classify them in the same way that we classify food, because they are food. And for this classification, we have to thank a little-known English physician who dedicated his life to the study of human pee. His name was William Prout, and in the early 1800s, he became fascinated with human digestion, especially our urine. And that's because he thought that the best way to understand the human body was to understand what it does to food. He was the first person to discover the chemical composition of urine. In the presence of water, urine gives off ammonia, which is why your pee smells. Through his years of studying urine, Prout came to the conclusion that all foodstuffs fell into three categories: carbohydrates, the fats, and the proteins. Like many great minds, Prout was overlooked in his own lifetime, because while he was studying actual science, everyone else was walking around believing that the color of your urine was determined by your personality. We are going to start out with the most basic of these ingredients for life, and that is the carbohydrate. They are the primary source of all energy that we have available to us. Carbohydrates are made up of sugars. The star of the show here is glucose, because it comes from the sun. All biological energy is originally captured from the sun by plants as glucose. When carbohydrates start to form longer and longer chains, their function and their roles change as well. Instead of being sources for instant energy, they become storehouses of energy. Some carbohydrates are really good for storing energy. And that's where we get bread. Bread is made up of starch. Plants store glucose in the form of starch, and it comes in lots and lots of different forms, from roots and potatoes, to the sweet flesh of fruits, to the starchy seeds of the wheat plant that end up being milled into flour. Ground up grain is the main ingredient in the bread, and most of the calories, or the energy, comes from carbohydrates. We tend to store carbohydrate energy in our muscles, ready to use. It is also stored in our livers. It's a pretty short-term store of energy. If we don't eat for a day, all of the carbohydrate energy in our muscles will be used up. For long-term energy, we store our energy through fat. All of our mom's worst enemies, fat, is actually really important. Fat is a type of very important biological molecule, the lipid. Lipids are simpler carbohydrates, and they cannot dissolve in water. The two do not mix. It is exactly like oil and water. Fats are made up mainly of two chemical ingredients, glycerol and fatty acid. These are in things like butter, peanut butter, and oils. They can either be saturated or unsaturated. And I know that when we put the words fat and saturated into the same sentence, it sounds like an evening at KFC, but here we are talking about being filled with hydrogen. To demonstrate, direct your attention to this jar of peanut butter. Here you can see both kinds of fats. The liquid stuff you see on the top is the unsaturated fat, which we think of as oils. The pasty stuff down here also contains lots of unsaturated fat, but also contains saturated fat. And so now we approach the most complicated chemicals in our body, the protein. Right now, in you, there are proteins doing everything they can to keep you alive. They help you digest food. There are antibodies connecting themselves to invaders like bacteria and viruses so that your immune system can get them. There are protein endorphins that make you feel emotions. By eating foods that are high in protein, we can build up the good things which make up proteins, called amino acids. Some foods, like this egg, have all of the essential amino acids we need.